everything set up. Hey Instagram witchy mamas, this is Avani from Ecstatic Earth Arts, and today I am going live to chat about how to celebrate Lammas, some ideas for your ritual celebrations if you haven't already made plans, because Lammas is officially tomorrow. And I'm just doing that thing that I always do where I pull up an extra window on Facebook because Facebook likes to not show me all the comments, so this way I'm sure that I see everybody. I'm going to make this bigger too. Yes, how do we expand? There we go. There's that. And I have things I wanted to do show and tell with that are blowing away here. There we go. I want to scroll down and open this up. Open. Alright, this is being spectacularly unhelpful. Here we go. Alright, cool. I have everything up everywhere, so cool. Well, now that I'm waiting, it is 4 o'clock, it is Friday. This is when I always do my regular live stream. Let me reposition myself a little bit so on Instagram I make a little more sense and maybe don't look quite so wide. Alright, so it is July 31st. Hey everybody on Facebook, I see that there's 2 people watching. I can't see your name. If you throw me a hashtag live in the comments so I can see that you're here, that'd be great. Plus it helps other people find us more easily. We're going to be talking about Lammas, but in the meantime, while we're waiting for folks to show up, I thought that I would show off some of my beach/vacation finds because I'm on vacation in Maine this week, as you may or may not be able to see with the pretty scenery behind me. I'm on the front deck of our cottage right now. You can see there's another cottage right next to us. That's not mine. Not that big. So let's see. My husband and I went to Goodwill one of the first days we were here, and I found a couple of great finds. I found this great book. This is Women Who Run with Wolves, which is like super classic, like primal feminine literature, myths and stories of the wild woman archetype. Let's see, the million-copy bestseller, 2 years on the New York Times hardcover bestseller list. Super exciting. Don't know when I'm going to read it, but I'm super excited that I found it and I have it anyway. So that's one of the finds I got this week. Add it to the massive pile of books to read eventually. And this is, I found this in the same trip, and it's kind of silly that I bought this at Goodwill when I was going to the beach at the lake, but I found this really awesome giant seashell at Goodwill, not at the beach. I don't know if it's going to end up on my water altar outside of my house, or if it's going to wind up on one of my indoor altars. I have kind of thoughts of maybe making a beach water altar in my home too, just because this place here where I am now, I should say, is kind of very important to me personally. So I love the idea of maybe making an altar so I feel like I can be close to it no matter what time of year it is. And then today I went to back up. So my husband and actually my whole family and I went to, there's a store here in Maine called Leapin' Lizards. It's in Portland that we usually like to go to when we're here. And one of the things that I got was a rose quartz, which I actually wrapped earlier this week. And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen pictures of that. I also bought this aqua aura crystal while I was there. And then this really pretty piece of pua shell. I have passing thoughts about creating some smudge. Let me backtrack. Smoke cleansing fans using some feathers, which I'm going to show you next, and then these two, I'm going to tie these on. I think they'll be really pretty. And we have some. Let me show you the feathers first. So there are tons of seagulls on these beaches because there's also lots of people. So I've been collecting seagull feathers all week. See, this one has actually a little bit of color on it, which is cool. And we have some that are just plain white. Plain white. And then we've got 2 of these really beautiful tail feathers, which I'm super stoked about, from seagulls. Pigeon of the sea. But they're still ocean magic, right? So I'm excited about these. These are going to make some beautiful fans. And then we also found, so there were some little kids at like a station tent next to us that were digging up mussels, which is kind of sad, but they ended up abandoning all the shells, so we've got all these beautiful shells. Hey Lady Ferguson, we're going to be talking about celebrating Lammas today and some ideas for your rituals if you guys haven't already made plans. And I'm just showing off some of my beach finds and shopping finds I made this week while I'm on vacation while we wait for folks to show up. I'm going to give it another like 2-3 minutes probably, and then I'll jump in because I started a little bit late today. Showing off these really cool mussel shells. I don't know how well you can see, but they're really pretty and iridescent. And then this is actually a piece of rock quartz that one of my kiddos found in the lake. I feel like on the video it's not showing it really well how like pretty and translucent it is, but it's a really nice piece. And then today I went to Nobody Shoot Me because I know that they're not a great organization, but I went to the Salvation Army, which is exciting here because, you know, I'm not from this area, so to get to go to an unfamiliar Goodwill / Salvation Army is very exciting for me. But I found a lot of these tiny little, I don't know if they're real silver or what they are, if they're stainless steel, but these teeny tiny little chalices, which I'm thinking I'm going to actually list on my website. I think I'm going to create like a little vintage section because I love thrifting for this kind of stuff, and I think that there's so many great pieces you can find and kind of resurrect for magical reasons, so I'll put these up on my website. I think there's 6 of them, so if you're interested in those, you can also send me a private message, and I can get one to you that way too. I think these guys are going to be probably $5 each plus shipping. So these are super cute, super fun. And then the last thing I'm going to show you before I jump in is this. So I used to have one of these at in my ritual circle in my backyard, and so double check on Facebook that it's not hiding things from me. And it broke just from exposure to the elements. And this one here, it says right on it, Hecho en Mexico, which means it was made in Mexico. Hey, Tarot Card Readings by Francesca. We're going to be talking about how to celebrate Lammas today. I'm on vacation this week, so while we were waiting for folks to show up, I was just showing off some of my beach / shopping finds. And this is the last thing I'm going to show, and then I'm going to jump right back in anyway. But it's one of these. So I'm going to end up putting this on the community altar that's in my yard back at home. And I love this with the circular, hey, Francesca. Good to see you. Glad you're here. But I love having this in the back. You know, it's literally a circle of people back in my ritual circle. Like, how more appropriate can it get? And this here, I think, is supposed to be for, you can put a little tea light in here, but it'll probably more likely end up a little offering bowl or something. But I love this, and I love the coloring of this. So this is going to be a great addition to my stuff in my yard. But, all right. Now that I have bored you with all of my exciting beach vacation finds, let us talk about Lammas. Again, if you're here and you're joining me and you haven't heard me say it yet, if you could do me a favor and give me a hashtag live in the comments, or if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay, just because it helps other people find us better. That would be really, really helpful. So first of all, let's talk about Lammas. Hey, Kevin. Talking about Lammas today, which is the first harvest festival of the year. Within the pagan Wiccan wheel of the year, there are 3. First is Lammas, which is what we're about to have today, tomorrow, depending on who you talk to. Hey, Vivica, glad you're here. Hey, Senator Tarth, we're talking about how to celebrate Lammas today. So Lammas is a fire festival. Exactly, not a fire festival. That's about what I'm getting to next. Is a harvest festival. Mabon is a harvest festival, and then also Samhain is considered to be a harvest festival also. So Lammas is the first of 3. And a lot of people think that Lammas is a fire festival, and I think that it really boils down to the fact that pagans love fire, and we want every Sabbath to be a fire festival because fire is great, and it is. But Lammas is actually much more closely associated with the element of water. So another thing a lot of cultures will do around this time of year is they will actually have flower festivals. Like even now in current day, if you go onto the internet and Google or whatever, like, you know, flower festivals in wherever, you know, this is the time of year that all of them are happening, and which kind of begs the question, well, why? Why are flower festivals a thing at the end of summer, beginning of fall? And I really believe that it goes back to the vestiges of those original harvest celebrations, which were celebrating the last flowers of summer, sort of releasing summer and inviting in the harvest season and ultimately autumn. So one of the ways they do that is they would pick all the flowers and decorate things, and they would, you know, bring them places. Another common thing that old cultures would do with those flowers is they would do something called well dressing, which is another thing that we will talk about a little bit more later also. It's another really great Lammas activity to do, especially if you're looking for something that's, I mean, it still can be ritual, but something that's really nice, you know, kind of low-key thing that you can do, especially if you have kids, without worrying about, like, building a fancy altar and getting super crazy about it. Let's see. So Lammas. Oh, and of course, Lammas itself, the word is also, it's also called lunasa. But Lammas specifically is I believe Latin or possibly Greek. I'm not sure which, but is the term that's used, that was co-opted, I guess we could say, by the Catholic Church as a name for this holiday, and it means loaf mass. So Lammas, loaf mass, which is why we associate it so much with the grain harvest and the harvesting of grain and the baking of bread. And in the Catholic Church, what they did this time of year typically was that they would bless all of the grain that had been harvested that was going to ultimately be used to then bake the host or the bread that they were using in their communion services. Again, if you're joining me and you haven't said hi yet, please feel free to throw hashtag live in the comments so I can see that you're here. Hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. We're glad to have you. Hey, Centered Hearth, I just realized I didn't say hi to you yet. Thank you for being here. I see Facebook has a bunch of people, but it's not telling me who you are, and I'm very sad about it, so I'm glad you're here. Let me know that you're here. So Lammas, and then of course Lunasa is the Celtic version, or the Celtic, origin of this holiday, and one of the most common activities that was done during Lunasa is lose games, which is sort of a twist on what we think of as like the Highland games, where it was a lot of like traditional gaming and competitions that were very physical, very much oriented. The other thing too, if we think about our everyday lives, what's happening in modern times, one of the things that kind of kicks off around this time of year, hey Freedom, we're talking about Lammas and how to celebrate it, but one of the other things that kicks off around this time of year is all of the, normally anyway, all of the Renaissance festivals and all the county fairs. This is totally the beginning of that, and it again harkens back to all of the first harvest festivals that were originally celebrated by the pagans and the country dwellers. So then the question becomes, how can we use all that information to determine how we want to celebrate? Obviously, I talked about how Lammas is really associated with the grain harvest, so one of the things that you can do is you can bake bread. Everybody loves bread. Well, unless you're keto. Even keto people love bread, let's be honest. Everybody loves bread. One really common sort of activity that was done with bread is that they would bake a loaf of bread, split it into 4 pieces, and bury it in the 4 corners of their barn or on their property for protection. Oftentimes it was done for the barn for the protection of the specific grain that was going to be used for the year. Hey Elizabeth, we are talking about how to celebrate Lammas today. Thanks for being here. Throw a hashtag live in the comments if you're here. Hey Sarah, glad you could make it. I have Instagram and Facebook happening at the same time. Usually I do YouTube also, but I am out in the middle of nowhere with no printer, so I have my outline so I don't forget anything on one screen. I'm going to attempt to upload my Instagram live to YouTube later, so cross your fingers for me on that one. So yes, baking bread, super popular activity. If you are looking for a bread recipe, because there is a bazillion out there, I am going to be posting my absolute favorite Lammas bread recipe on my blog this coming Wednesday, so especially if you're celebrating a little late like I'm going to be, because I'm going to be on vacation this weekend. I don't have access to all of my witchy things here, other than the things I've salvaged from the beach, which I was showing you guys before. If you want to see that for whatever reason, you can always rewatch this afterwards and see all my beach finds from the week. So yes, baking bread, super fun. Hey, thanks for the hashtag live, Centered Hearth. So other than the bread, obviously, which is just a fun activity in and of itself, because you get to eat it, ideally. You know, if you're going to be doing it for magical purposes only, obviously bake 2. One for magic and one for snacking. Again, highly recommend that recipe. That's going to be going up on my blog on Wednesday. It's delicious. Even if you're not doing it for your exact celebrations, if you're celebrating this weekend, it's bread. Bake it. It's delicious. There's no wrong time to bake bread, so just do it. It's going to be yummy. Hey Gab Neps. Hey Gab Neps. We are talking about Lammas today and how to celebrate. And the next thing I want to talk about is well dressing. I mentioned that in passing a little while ago. Well dressing is another really common, oh interesting, I just got a weird Facebook notification. Well dressing was a really common activity that was done at this time of year, again kind of related to the flower festivals also, where people would dress the wells with wildflowers, and again it had a lot to do with saying farewell to the last flowers of summer. You know, because once we pass a certain point in the year, flowers tend to not bloom so much anymore, and we're kind of on that threshold right now. So one thing that you can do that kind of relates to that is you could go to a public well or fountain and make a wish. Use a penny, use a flower, use whatever you'd like. Or if you don't have access to an actual well, you can tie ribbons onto a tree That's another idea. That's technically tree dressing, which some people also associate with Beltane, but I always tend to associate more with Lammas, or it can be both. There's no reason it can't be both. Or if you have one near you that you prefer to use, you could always dress a stone wall. Another common thing that people have done over the course of history is they will take, a flower or a little piece of paper and write an intention on it, roll it up, and stuff it into a stone wall. That's another nice way to kind of like do some wish magic. So wish magic is a big thing, I think, at this time of year. And those are kind of 3 big ways to do it. Another thing too is obviously keep talking about the last flowers of summer. One thing that you can do with that is you can literally just go out with your kiddos, your witchlings, or on your own, depending on who you have for company, and pick wildflowers and make bouquets out of them. I posted this adorable meme picture in my Facebook group a couple days ago where someone was showing paintbrushes that had been made with wildflowers and grasses tied to sticks, and another person commented on it. Her name's Ariel. She's a friend of mine. I mean, everyone's my friend, but someone I know in person who's a friend of mine commented like, oh, these would be really great mini altar besoms. You could totally do that too. That would be a really fun idea, especially to use those wildflowers for, because I mean, at this point in the year they're going to die anyway. Why not put them to some kind of new use to give them new life, so you're kind of playing into the whole cycle of life in that way as far as the flowers are going. And then, of course, and having those flowers around with you, from this point in the year moving forward, as the days are getting shorter and the weather is getting colder, it can be a reminder of you of warmer, sunny days and how those are going to come back eventually, because I don't know about you, but where I live, sometimes it feels like summer is going to last forever. So having that little reminder, like my seashells, like my feathers, like dried flowers, can be a really nice reminder of the season and how things always come back. Hey Ariel, I was just talking about your suggestion for those mini altar besoms. Glad you're here. So let's see. Oh, and then finally, of course, and I know I mentioned this when I talked about midsummer, I think that this is still a great time of year for barbecues, like grilling and being outside, doing potlucks. And I love potlucks. I'm a big fan. Like every single birthday party that I host for my children or my family is a potluck. But have people bringing their own seasonally appropriate dishes, or even anything. Like I think chili is seasonally appropriate, even though it's not necessarily traditional. And tapping into that, the tradition of Lunasa with the Luz games is to do lawn games, which is it sounds really silly and kind of flippant and a little overly modern maybe, but it's everything to me is all about bringing all of this practice into the modern age, because we do have modern things now and there's absolutely no reason why we can't incorporate them. And I think lawn games is a really great way to kind of tap into that tradition. So some games that are really popular that you might like is cornhole, which is really popular up here in Maine, which is where I am right now. I kind of joke it's like the whitest game in the world because I only ever see white people playing it. Not that other people don't play it, of course, and anybody can, but I think it's just, even the name, cornhole, whatever. Anyway, cornhole, badminton, also kind of white, but badminton. If you want to, you could do croquet, you could do bocce, which is actually really Italian, or also called lawn bowling. Or a caper toss, which obviously caper toss is actually really traditionally Scottish, Celtic, Gaelic, where they take the giant logs and they heave them down a hill to see how far they'll, I don't know if it's down a hill, but heave them to see how far they'll go. Obviously, if you've got small children, use caution and use your judgment to determine what's safe for everybody involved. It could be, if you have the access to a lake, it could be skipping stones. It could be trying to get your kids to learn how to build a fire without matches, which is a really good way to, pun intended, burn some time, because it is not a quick process. But just getting active and using our bodies and being competitive. So part of it's about competing too, and obviously little kids tend to not have a problem with that. So yeah, those are all my suggestions, just quick suggestions on what you can do to celebrate Lammas this year if you don't already have plans. It is not too late for you to grab all your Lammas goodies from my website. I have a whole collection. You can go to ecstaticearths.com/shop and you can find everything that's there. If you join my email list, hey Annie Gates, I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name, so I'm sorry, I hope I'm not butchering that. I'm actually wrapping up right now, so feel free to go back and watch this on the replay from the beginning. But in my On my website, there is a whole Lammas collection, including a ritual and all the goodies that you need for said ritual. The ritual, of course, doesn't need those things, but they're a nice add-on. They're very aesthetic and pretty and kind of will add to your ritual experience, but of course you don't need them. The rituals are designed to work either way, depending on your comfort level, of course. So go and check that out. It's not too late. It's like Geets. All right, cool. Thank you. Now I won't screw that up in the future, even if I'm just reading it in my own head. To me, I feel like pronunciation of names is like super important, and I feel like I never want to like offend anybody by doing it the wrong way. In my brain, I was always reading Geits, I think because the I is first, but Geets. Now I know that. Where was I? Lammas. Lammas collection. So yes, check it out. And if you join my email list, which is bit.ly/VIP Witchy Mamas, which is linked in my bio on Instagram and in the description for this live video on Facebook right now. You'll get a 20% off coupon right off the start, but I'm also doing a promotion this weekend, so you'll probably get those emails too, and you can get it even cheaper than that as I'm clearancing it out, because after this week they're going to be going away completely until next harvest season, until next summer. So check it out while you can. And that's all I have for you today. So I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Oh, Sarah says she's the worst bread baker in the entire world. Can I make something else? Is the grain flour, because I want to make some cinnamon buns. Yeah, absolutely. There is grain in flour. You can make whatever you want. I will say that I had never made any bread at all before I made the bread recipe that I'm going to be posting. And I find it oddly easy. Like, don't sell yourself short. You might find it actually really easy. Give it a try, and if it goes badly, then you can blame me for it after, but it's delicious and I highly recommend. But if you really, really don't want to do that, absolutely, there is grain in flour. It is, especially if you're using whole wheat flour. Actually, I think, I'm not sure what regular flour is. I should know that, but sadly I don't, so bad adult. But yes, cinnamon buns, totally. Hey Gemstone 7, we're actually just wrapping up a video about how to celebrate Lammas. I'm actually wrapping up, so feel free to go back and watch this on the replay. And I hope you guys all have a lovely weekend and that you get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather, because we are kind of sliding into the end of summer when things are the last sweet, warm, little sticky days of summer, and when they're gone, we're going to miss them. So get outside, enjoy yourself, take care of yourselves, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Blessed be.